Welcome back to the Daily Show, everybody. I'm Yasmin Vasugin, joining you from the T-Mobile Social Circle. So yesterday we told you about twin sisters who one was accused of murdering the other by intentionally driving her off a cliff. But now a judge has thrown the case out, citing lack of evidence. That was really quick. Our affiliate HLN has more on this.
Alexandria Duval was accused of killing Anastasia Duval after driving the SUV off Hana Highway and falling off a cliff about 200 feet down. Anastasia died at the scene while Alexandria was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Court records show that investigators examined the vehicle and determined that the vehicle quickly accelerated and made a hard left turn, and the brakes were never applied. But in court today, the judge determined there was not enough to support that murder charge.
We cross-examined them. They presented their evidence, and the judge essentially found that there was not sufficient evidence to sustain the charge.
I was a little disappointed in the judge's ruling. More than little. I was very disappointed. I believe the evidence did have enough probable cause to show that this was an intentional act.
That evidence leads to many alternative conclusions. And I believe the judge found that they didn't submit evidence to support their theory. And the alternative theory was just as likely circumstance as the theory that the government presented, specifically that the passenger grabbed the wheel and caused the fatal crash.
Edens told me prosecutors can still go to a grand jury and indict Alexandria Duval if they want to charge her with murder. It's not clear if they plan to do that. As for his client,
Allison's grateful, and she wants to be back with her family. Her sister's going to be buried shortly, and ideally she will be there to grieve with her family.
All right, so a pretty shocking twist to that entire story we talked about yesterday. Joining me now, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor, Yodit Tewolde. Yodit, thanks so much for joining us. So in the span of literally 24 hours, we went from reporting on a murder suspect to a judge dropping the charge. How does something like this happen so quickly?
Well, we have to understand that what a probable cause hearing is. It's a proceeding in which the judge doesn't make the decision about the defendant's guilt, but makes the decision whether there's probable cause to support the state's charge. And in this case, that wasn't the case. The judge, and I can't say that I don't disagree with the judge's ruling, that there just wasn't enough to say that this person, this Anastasia, or Alexandria, that is, had an intentional conduct on her part to commit murder. It just wasn't there. So it's not unusual. And I totally agree with the judge's decision today, or yesterday.
Look, and I have to say, from the get-go, I was pretty skeptical about this charge. And I want to play my reaction to this on yesterday's show, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. You got to agree with me, Joey. There is no way that the surviving sister could have guaranteed she was going to survive that crash.
You know, that's a great question, Yasmin. It could very well be, and there are many people who, you know, sort of have a really second reflection.
So with just knowing the minor details of this case, I kind of sort of had my arms up and thought, how could this woman be charged with murder when she's going over a cliff? Who knows if she was going to survive, like I said. Now the prosecutor taking these charges, pressing, wanting second-degree murder charges, the judge drops a case saying there's no probable cause. Is this unusual to you?
No, not at all. I think the prosecutors here were being overzealous and I think a little cold. I mean, this person just lost their twin sister in an accident, and to jump to the conclusion and say that this was murder wasn't there. I mean, we have to understand what murder is. Murder is committed when a person intentionally or knowingly causes death to another person. That wasn't here. Now, I think the appropriate charge, if they wanted to charge her with anything, would have been manslaughter, because manslaughter is committed when you cause someone to die based off of reckless conduct. Now, witnesses say that they were arguing in a vehicle. Sisters, siblings argue. That's no surprise. That doesn't amount to murder. I think the prosecutors were being overzealous.
Could that still happen? Could they turn around and say, okay, no, manslaughter instead?
Absolutely. Now, what they are, I don't know if they're going to go to a grand jury. They can. I would suggest to a prosecutor going to a grand jury with the evidence that they have right now to not do that unless they go and get more evidence to support a second-degree murder. But if they do have evidence to support a manslaughter, that would be, I think, more reasonable. I don't think that there should be a charge at all. But if they have evidence to suggest that something was foul here, then go with a manslaughter, not a second-degree charge. I mean, that is a high burden to meet, and I don't think that they would have won in trial if this went all the way.
All right, Yodit Tewolde, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.